It's been 7 months. The last time Formula One had racing action was December the 1st of last year. Since then, we've been trying to entertain ourselves with virtual Grand Prix, R-Factor events, just finding any sort of racing video game, streaming it to YouTube, and trying to entertain all the F1 fans all over the world. And it was fun for a while, 2 months. If I'd say March, April, May, I enjoyed it. And then it got to a point where I was really hungry for some real life racing. And it just kind of showed me that esports cannot replace real life racing, and it never will replace real life racing. Because real life racing is so much more raw, and I can feel passion. I can almost smell the environment that is surrounding all the drivers. I feel it, I breathe it, I live it. And esports ultimately is just a bunch of pixels on a screen, and it just cannot replace that buzz you get in your chest. You know, when those 5 red lights went out last weekend, I felt that buzz again, and I've missed that feeling so much, and it just made me emotional just to hear that F1 theme tune, which has been a fantastic new addition to the sport in the last 2 years. To hear the commentators sounding like children, really, because it's been so long, 7 months. And last week we finally got some much needed racing action. And I gotta say that Austrian Grand Prix was fantastic. Probably more so the second half of it than the first half. The first half felt like an average race, really. And the second half came and, yeah, blew everyone away, I guess you could say. But, yeah, I mean, so much has happened in the last week or so that I just really felt like talking about it, because I've missed it, really have. So guess I'll talk about the Austrian Grand Prix, all my thoughts. Yeah, I'm still smiling because it's back, my favorite sport, and I can't wait. And the Formula One is not the only sport that is back. There's so many other motorsports that are back that are going to be coming along in the upcoming months. It's going to be a very packed schedule. And as a motorsport fan, the next few months might just be the best few months that any motorsport fan will ever have. So cherish it, embrace it, and live it to the max. Yeah. So yeah, anyways, Austrian Grand Prix last weekend. You know, nobody really knew what the pecking order was going to be. Ferrari were constantly playing themselves down, saying that they were going to be bad. And, you know, this whole time since winter testing, I was always thinking, you know what, they're probably sandbagging. They've probably got a really good package. Maybe not championship level, but maybe second best, third best. Like, near Mercedes. You know, so I thought this was a new tactic for them to play themselves down, to try and, you know, fool everyone into thinking that they were bad when they were actually pretty good. But yeah, Ferrari playing themselves down, constantly saying that they were bad, that they were slow, that they were not going to be very good in the first few races. But I never believed it. I always thought, you know what, they're probably just playing a tactic, trying to make themselves look not so good. But you know, it was actually true. Like, practice, obviously you can never really say, but Mercedes topped all the practice times, looked very, very quick. Their new DAS system, which I'm actually quite sad that it's going to be banned next season, because I think it's a fantastic new innovation by them. And I'd rather every team embrace that rather than every team wanting it to be banned because they're just salty that Mercedes did it first, you know. You know, even Red Bull even protested for it to be banned this year, but I'm happy it wasn't, because I think it's really cool. I'm always watching the steering wheel whenever we look at the Mercedes. But yeah, Ferrari looked really off the pace, and it's really shocking because Ferrari has the biggest budget in Formula One, so they really should be, you know, the best. They should have the best car. They should have the best team, the best everything, but it just hasn't worked. You know, it's been 12 years now since they've last won a championship. 2008, I was still in primary school. Last time they won a championship. You know, I really don't understand it. You know, why are they still struggling? They've had Fernando Alonso, they've had Sebastian Vettel, they've had Kimi Raikkonen. Okay, Kimi Raikkonen hasn't been good for a while, but still, they've had 3 world champions. You know, and they haven't won anything. You know, it's quite baffling, really. I don't understand it. You know, they've got all the money in the world, so why are they struggling so much? You know, they can spend their way out of trouble, surely. But clearly, they're proving that money maybe isn't everything. But still, I'm surprised. You know, I looked at qualifying. You know, Vettel was knocked out of Q2. Couldn't even make it into the top 10. And Charles Leclerc barely made it into the top 10 and qualified. So he was actually lucky to qualify 7th. I'll get onto that later on. But yeah, I don't understand this team. And, you know, as someone who doesn't like Ferrari, I'm actually secretly, well, not so secret as I'm saying it, I'm actually quite happy that they're struggling because I've never been a fan of their egotistical, you know, oh, look at us, we're the best, me kind of attitudes that they just cannot seem to shake off. It's never their fault, it's always someone else's. You know, I just think it's a very wrong way of thinking. And, you know, to be the best, you have to accept that sometimes you can get it wrong and that you need to always improve and that, you know, you need to appreciate that it's not just, you know, you're not perfect, that you can always improve. Ferrari have not really taken that culture for, you know, 12 years now, and it's easy to see that they haven't because it's been over a decade since they've last won. And you know, even linking to this whole Ferrari thing, it actually turns out that it wasn't a mutual peaceful separation between Vettel and Ferrari. It was actually, Vettel said last weekend he was actually surprised that he wasn't offered a contract, that he was surprised about the decision and that it wasn't really a mutual separation. It was Ferrari basically telling him to go away. Well, not literally telling him to go away, but just basically saying, we don't need you anymore. Carlos Sainz, a man who's had 1 podium in his entire career, is our man. It's just, you know, look, Vettel, last 2 years, 3 years, 2.5 really, hasn't been at his best. He has struggled. But at the same time, he's a 4-time world champion. You can't really treat him in such a way, you know. I just think Ferrari could have handled that much better. And once again, it's a testament to their culture, their toxic culture, that I'm not really surprised that they treat their drivers this way. But I hope Charles Leclerc doesn't get the same treatment. I hope Carlos Sainz doesn't get the same treatment. But I really do feel that they will. Like, I'm predicting after Charles' 5-year extension is over, he'll probably be out of the team. Carlos Sainz, I don't know how long his contract is, but he'll... No, do you know what? I reckon he'll stay for a bit longer because he's never had such a good seat in his career. Although, having said that, McLaren is looking good, but again, I'll come on to that later on. But yeah, Ferrari this year have built a really bad car, and they've said that they're going to bring updates to... Well, initially they said they were going to bring the update to Hungary. They've actually brought that one race forward to the Styrian Grand Prix, which is actually at the same track in the Red Bull Ring in Austria, but they've renamed the Grand Prix because they can't have 2 Grand Prix named Austrian Grand Prix, can they? So, yeah, like, I guess they're crossing their fingers and hoping that this upgrade is going to work, but I still think your Mercedes look far. I'm not sure in other areas, but they look fast. I'll say that much. So yeah, moving onwards from actually, let's actually delve into their race. Vettel spun again last weekend, so it's kind of like deja vu. Where have I seen this before? This is nothing new. All the Spinala memes from that Formula Dank subreddit came about again. Everyone typing Spinala on Reddit, Twitter, you name it, whatever social media is, you name it. And we were all making fun. I was making fun of it. Look, I like Seb. I wish him all the best. I've got no bad feelings against him. I used to. I cannot deny that. I used to, but I was young back then. Well, I'm still young now, but you get my point. I'm a bit more grown up. And I don't give drivers unnecessary hate, but I really want him to do well, but I have to admit, I found it funny when he spun. I will admit, I guess Vettel probably could see the funny side of it as well, because it's happened so often now, and he's not going to win anything this season because the car looks bad. And in his defense, from his onboard view, that car looked like a pig to drive. Honestly, it looks like the 2014 Ferrari. It just cannot corner at all. Oversteer, understeer, it looks like a pig. And you got to feel sorry for the guy, but I guess if he retires at the end of the season, which is looking more and more likely, I guess he can look back and say, you know what, I've got no regrets. I've had a great career. I'm the third most successful driver in history. Not many people can say that they've won over 4 championships and over 50 Grand Prix wins. He's in a very exclusive club. If I was Sebastian Vettel right now, I wouldn't really care that my car is bad. I wouldn't really care that Ferrari have essentially kicked me out. I'd be like, okay, I've won 14 races with you, so it's not too bad. Okay, I didn't win a championship with you, but I've won many championships myself. So, it was just nice to drive for my childhood team. So, I if I was Vettel, I'd be chill. I'd be feeling really cool. New chapter in my life. I've got a wife and kids to look after. Hopefully, I'll be a good father. All that stuff, He's got a good life ahead of him still. So I wouldn't be feeling any negativity. Of course, it's probably Vettel fans and Ferrari fans who are probably feeling negativity right now, which I guess is understandable. But yeah, Vettel spun because he was trying to pass Sainz, but he misjudged it and got it wrong. And he was actually lucky to finish 10th because he was actually languishing in 12th, 13th for a while. And he was actually struggling to overtake a Williams, which says it all, really. So pretty miserable afternoon for him. Charles Leclerc, honestly, he drove a fantastic race, and he's actually my driver of the day. To put that truck in second place is an achievement. Yes, we had 9 retirements that race, so yes, he did get lucky. Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez both had penalties, but at the end of the day, what makes a champion? Making the most out of every opportunity you get. That's what makes a champion, and he did that. He made the most out of the situation, extracted the best result, and yes, he had luck, but you have to take your chances every time you get them. So fair play to him. And yeah, he carried the Ferrari team this weekend, and honestly, Ferrari have had a right result. They should be grateful to Charles. They do not deserve that man. He's driven so well since joining the team last season. Okay, yes, he made a few errors last season, but it was only his second season in sport. He was only 21 years old. He's very inexperienced in 2019, and that's first year in a new team. Mistakes will happen, but he did beat his teammate, who's a 4-time world champion, and he wasn't exactly old, Vettel. He's only 32, so he's not past his prime, at least in theory. And yeah, Leclerc's driven well, and he's shown that he's a top-class driver, one to watch for the future. And to finish second in that, even Charles himself looked really relieved. On the podium, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm actually really happy with second. Honestly, I did not expect this." And you could tell you couldn't expect this in qualifying when the team said, "Oh, we're 10th in Q2." It was like, "What? Really? That's crazy. He said that, and that just says it all, really. So yeah, Ferrari have work to do, and it's not looking good for them. And they might even finish not even third in the construction. I mean, I'm expecting them to be beaten by Red Bull and Mercedes this year. They might even be beaten by McLaren or Racing Point because they looked quite good last weekend. Although, having said that, all the hype we had about Racing Point, I did expect better from them. In practice, they looked pretty good. They were challenging the Mercedes and the Red Bulls. They were sometimes splitting them, and they looked faster than Ferrari. And also in the race, they were actually, and in quali, they were faster than Ferrari. Right now, the Racing Point is faster than Ferrari. But they didn't really maximize their potential. Lance Stroll retired with an engine problem. Sergio Perez picked up a penalty, I believe, for pit lane speeding and finished sixth. And it's like, all that hype, pink Mercedes, blah, 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 copying, tracing all those pink Mercedes memes that, they look, the 2019 Mercedes and the 2020 Force India look exactly, well, not Force India, bloody hell, Racing Point. Oh, I'm still in that habit of calling it Force India, but yeah. All those memes on Twitter about, they're going to be fast because they've copied Mercedes. Well, yeah, they were fast, but there's no point being fast if your cars are reliable and your drivers are picking up penalties, is it? So I'd say it was quite a disappointing weekend for them as well. I expected them to. I mean, both Red Bulls had DNF, so really I'd expect them to finish third and fourth. Both Red Bulls out of the equation. Mercedes is the only team that is probably faster than them, so. And yet they only finished sixth and DNF and pick up 8 points. All that hype for 8 points. I'm expecting them to be a lot better next weekend, so they better not disappoint. So, and honestly, I really want Sergio Perez to pick up a podium because I honestly think he's very underrated, and 8 podiums, never having a top tier car is a great achievement, and I really want him to get some more podiums this season. And I'm sure I think he might get a few in there, maybe 2. Would be a nice result for him this year, but yeah, Racing Point need to take advantage of their opportunities and not throw them away. Lance Stroll, I mean, not much to say about him. As I said, retired with an engine problem. Wasn't really challenging the top 5 the whole race while he was in it. Yeah. But hey, at least Racing Point did better than Red Bull, which had a double DNF, which you could almost say is karma, because this whole weekend they've looked like, that petulant child, that snitch in primary school who's always telling on the teacher, oh miss, he did this, he did that, give him a detention. That's basically what Red Bull was doing this weekend. It kind of came across as very petulant and very kind of spoilt brat kind of vibe. And that didn't sit well with me. Look, I'm not blaming Red Bull. At the end of the day, Formula One it's a high-level competition. The stakes are high. Obviously, every team wants to do whatever it takes to win, Red Bull did the right thing. They did the right thing. I'm not saying they did the wrong thing. It worked for them. They got Mercedes a penalty, which meant that Verstappen gained a position, started second instead of third, because Hamilton had a 3-place penalty. But then both cars retired with engine problems. Or was it sensor problem? It was something. They both retired with mechanical problems. And it's kind of just they just looked stupid this weekend. All these protests at Mercedes, at the end of the day, they go home with 0 points and Mercedes goes home with 37 points. Yeah. Verstappen had promised. I really tipped him to do well, to... Obviously, he qualified in the top 3 and he started second. I honestly thought he'd get the jump on Bottas, but no, he actually had a fairly mediocre start and struggled to hold off the car behind him. And he never really challenged the Mercedes while he was in the race, which was for 10 or so laps, so not really a big reference point, but still, all the hype that, Red Bull keep hyping themselves up, their fans keep hyping up Red Bull. Since 2017, these new regulations, big downfalls, Adrian Newey, blah, blah, blah. But they've finished third in the Constructors every season since 2017. It's like, all this hype, you're going to challenge for the championship. Yeah, you're making no progress. Like, they've literally made no progress since 2017. Like, they're third. That's it. They're not even beating Ferrari, let alone Mercedes. So I don't believe the Red Bull hype anymore, and I'm not interested. And Verstappen, apparently he had the opportunity to go to Mercedes at one point. I've read somewhere, yet he didn't, which surprises me. You know, why not take that chance? But he didn't. And I just think if you're committing to a 5-year extension with a team that doesn't look like winning a championship, why bother? Why do that? You've put yourself in a difficult situation. I expect maybe there's a clause in his contract which enables him to leave the team at some point. It would be the smart thing to do. If he hasn't got a clause, he's going to look like an idiot. So I hope he has. So, yeah. Double DNF for Red Bull after all this hype again. You can start to notice a pattern here, that this is a war of attrition. This is a very demanding track with very demanding atmosphere, very hard on the cars, and as such we had 9 retirements, which is probably the highest number of retirements in the Grand Prix since it was a race at Australia. I can't remember which one it was, 2015, 2014, I don't know, but most retirements in a long time, 9. Almost half the field retired from the race, and all of these retirements were mechanical problems, except for Raikkonen, who, I mean, that could have been a mechanical problem too, as well, to be fair. His wheel fell off. I don't exactly know the problem, but yeah. So Red Bull double DNF. Mercedes, a tale of two stories, really. Valtteri Bottas looked in control the entire race, took pole, made an error in his second Q3 run, and all the conspiracy theorists on Twitter said, oh, did Bottas deliberately sabotage Hamilton, deliberately spun out so that Hamilton didn't get another lap in? Oh, Nico Rosberg vibes. Rubbish. Nico Rosberg is the kind of person to pull off dirty tricks like that. I can see him doing that. Valtteri Bottas is not that kind of person. He's Finnish, for crying out loud. Finnish people, they're very straightforward. They take no bullshit, but they also give no bullshit. They are straightforward people. Bottas is a pure racer. He is not the kind of person to pull off that kind of move. So I do not believe for one second that he deliberately pulled that trick. And it looked like an honest mistake, honestly. Take Michael Schumacher in 2006 in Monaco. You can clearly see that he's parking the car. Like, he's making no effort to take the corner properly. He's kind of weaving his steering wheel and just basically parking it in Raskas. That was obvious penalty, obvious cheating. Nico Rosberg, same track, 8 years later in 2014, goes off at Mirabel. Again, you can clearly see it was deliberate. He's weaving his steering wheel, purposely trying to induce a lockup. You could have easily taken that corner properly, chose not to. Again, you could easily tell that was cheating. He didn't get penalised for it, which, fair play, Rosberg, you cheated, but you didn't get caught, so fair play. But, Bottas, he just went a bit wide, got on the grass and lost control of his car. It was an honest mistake. You can't really say that was cheating. Come on. But a 1 minute 2.9, which I believe was the first ever lap to get into the 1 minute 2. So that is a record, that record of the Austrian Grand Prix circuit. So it was a great lap. Could have been even faster if he didn't make that mistake in the second run, but still great lap. Hamilton only 12 thousandths slower. But that was only the start of Hamilton's troubles. As I said, Bottas looked in complete control. Having a Sunday cruise, he was probably having a Finnish drink. Like, I've heard Finnish people like to drink a lot and party, so he's probably having a little Finnish party in his cockpit, probably drinking some, I don't know, vodka or something while he was driving. I don't know. But yeah, he had a straightforward race and was never really under pressure and had a bit of a Sunday cruise. So he drove well, deserved the win. So fair play to him. And he's already got a good lead in the championship over his teammate. Hamilton this weekend, he was looking good. He was topping the practice sessions. I think he topped every single one. And in qualifying to only be 12 thousandths behind his teammate. Okay, it's not pole, but still it's a great result. He's on the front row. He can still win this race. And his race pace, honestly, looked better than Bottas's. Honestly, like, at one point after Verstappen's retirement, when he was finally free to go after his teammate, he closed down the 7-second gap quite easily. And he looked faster than his teammate in the race. He just couldn't really get a foothold on the race. Couldn't really get on point. Like, you know, like, okay, I mean, the race is probably... I should probably talk about the quali stuff first. I mean, yeah, qualifying second, initially great result, but then, you know, Red Bull protested saying that he didn't slow down for yellow flags. Now, the FIA initially said, oh, there's no evidence to say, you know, that he's done this, so we're gonna say that he's free to be second, and it's, you know, he's second. But then, apparently, and this is actually quite surprising, that apparently the FIA didn't have the footage available to make a reasonable judgment until the day of the race, and Red Bull saw that footage, lodged a protest an hour before the race began, which really surprises me that this is Formula One, the so-called pinnacle of motorsport, as many people like to say, and yet their stewards are constantly making errors like this. You know, it's really surprising. But hey, Hamilton got his deserved penalty, clearly did not slow down under yellows. So 3-place penalty for him. So initially it's already looking problematic for him this weekend, but you know, he made some progress early on, like he passed Albon straight away, like actually maybe not straight away, but it took him less than 10 laps to get past Albon, which is, you know, he still has plenty of time to catch Verstappen and his teammate, and he was doing that, you know, and Verstappen retired, so he only had his teammate to deal with, and then, you know, he just okay, the incident with Alex Albon, probably should talk about that now. Like, first of all, you got to feel sorry for Alex Albon. Like, that's twice now that Lewis Hamilton has taken a podium away from him. And it's actually quite funny because in 2007, Hamilton's rookie season, Alex Albon was only 11 years old. And there was this little karting tournament. And Lewis Hamilton awarded Alex Albon an award for that. And there's actually video footage of it if you want to see on YouTube. It's actually quite funny seeing that 13 years later, they're now racing together and Hamilton's crashed into him twice. It's funny how that works. Yeah, really funny. But yeah, I mean, what I will say, the Brazil incident, I feel was Hamilton's fault. He bombed Albon, went in a bit too hot and tagged him. For me, that was Hamilton's fault. And Hamilton himself accepted blame for that, said, you know what, that's my fault. But one incident, okay, fair enough. Nobody's human, people make mistakes, you know. Even the best are bound to get it. You know, even the best are bound to get it wrong once in a while. It took me a while to say that sentence. So understandable, you know, every driver has their moment of, you know, misjudgment, but it happened again in Austria, which is the second time in 3 races, and it's like, has Hamilton forgotten how to race wheel to wheel? Has he spent so long in the Mercedes that he's literally just forgotten how to race other people? It looks like it, doesn't it? But honestly, though, when I saw this incident live, I was thinking, is that, it looked like a racing incident to me. Like, Hamilton was on the inside. Albon tried a risky, audacious move around the outside. To be fair, he did get the move done. He was very obviously in front, had 3/4 of his car in front of Hamilton by the time they made contact. But honestly, I don't really see what either driver could have done better there, or I don't really see what either driver did wrong there, to be honest with you. Like, Hamilton was on the inside. He didn't open up his steering and he didn't push out, like people are saying he pushed Albon off the track. He didn't do that. I don't understand why so many people are saying he pushed Albon off the track. He didn't. Like, his steering was consistently right. He wasn't opening up his steering to edge Albon off. And he wasn't really on the throttle either. He was feathering it, trying to get out of Albon's way. It was just a slight bit of understeer. And it was the smallest bit of contact. And it tagged Albon round. I'd love to see an onboard from Alex's point of view, which I really would feel would resolve all the uproar, or Hamilton should get a 25-second penalty, disqualification, race ban, blah blah blah. But looking at that incident, honestly, in my opinion, it's a racing incident. I don't really feel what either driver could have done better, what either driver did wrong in that scenario. Like, as I said, Hamilton was the inside, he didn't open up his steering. He gave Albon space, honestly, he didn't push him off. Like, Albon wasn't even touching the curbs at the time of the contact. He wasn't even touching the curbs. I don't understand people who saying he had no room on the outside. He did have a lot of room on the outside. Hamilton also had a lot of room on the inside, to be fair, but honestly, he was just understeering into Albon a little bit. You know, I feel for Albon. He really should have 2 podiums by now, but he still has 0 because of Lewis Hamilton. But, you know, if you had to apportion blame to someone, I guess you'd have to blame Lewis Hamilton, because he was the person who instigated that contact and tagged Albon ever so slightly. But really, 5 seconds is the maximum I'd give for that. I would not give any more than that. I think people are saying he should get a drive-through or 20 seconds or, you know, whatever you want to say, disqualification. Again, Lewis Hamilton's not the most popular driver on the grid. He has a lot of people who hate him. I think a lot of the hate he gets is unwarranted. I think some of the hate he gets maybe is warranted. But come on, guys. You've got to think with your head, not with your heart. You've got to look at that objectively. I think 5 seconds is fair. I don't think you can give him any more than that. I'll put it this way, it was the tiniest mistake with the biggest consequence. That's what I'll say. And penalizing someone, should it be about the mistake that's made, or should it be about the result of that mistake? Like, should it be about the person who hits the other person, or should it be about the fact the other person spun round and finished last, or didn't even finish at all? No, I think it's a balance between the two. You know, it was a small error. You can't, like, look, okay, if Hamilton just pushed him way off the track into the gravel, sure, I would happily give him a drive-through for that, and, you know, whatever grid penalty, I'd happily give him a 20-second penalty. But he didn't push him off the track. He gave him room, you know, and it was a little bit of understeer that pushed him off. So all the people are saying that you should get 10-second penalty, 20, you're just overreacting and wanting Hamilton to just finish last in every race. Let's be honest. So yeah, personally, I don't really understand it. And still, finishing 4th is not the worst result. I'm actually quite happy he finished 4th. I'm actually quite happy he finished off the podium. I'm a big McLaren fan. I've been a McLaren fan since the mid-2000s, late 2000s, around there. They've been my team for a very long time, over a decade now. And to see my team get another podium, second time in 3 races, I'm ecstatic, you know. And both podiums, Brazil 2019, Austria 2020, have come as a result of Lewis Hamilton taking out Alex Albon. It's actually quite funny how that works. So yeah. Lando Norris P3 though, that's first ever podium for Lando Norris. Only 20 years old, 3rd youngest driver to finish on the podium, and the first new British driver to finish on the podium since Lewis Hamilton in Australia 2007, which is now 13 years ago. Wow. Jeez. Anyway, so yeah, great drive by him. Honestly, like, I've criticised Lando Norris in 2019 for being a bit overrated, a bit overhyped. Probably gets too much credit because he's a British driver and he makes memes and he's a Twitch stream and he appeals to, he panders to the young audience that's even younger than me, I'd argue. Like, he panders to, and I don't mean this in a bad way, honestly. He panders to the 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. And I honestly do not mean this in a bad way. Like, it's good that he's trying to bring the young generation to Formula 1, because F1 should be targeting the young people, because they're the most important people, the young generation, that will continue to take over from the older fans and watch the sport. And when they get older, they'll bring their children into the sport, you know. But it's kind of hard to believe that he's actually older than me. Lando Norris, he's actually older than me. And he acts like he's at least 5 years younger than me. So that's quite weird, but yeah. You know, he drove well. He drove well in this race. Yes, he had luck, but as I said, same applies to Charles Leclerc, same applies to Lando Norris. What makes the best drivers? You have to take advantage of these opportunities, and yeah, you just have to make the maximum out of every opportunity you get, and he did that. He got a podium, second podium for McLaren in 3 races. You know, since 2019, McLaren has looked on an upwards trend, and I'm actually looking forward to. Honestly, I think the next few years are going to be great years for the sport. I really do believe that. With these new regulations coming in, the 2022 spec car looks very good, and I can't wait to see it in action. So, yeah, looking forward to it. But yeah, P3. And that just tells you the story of that whole race, how it all panned out with all the retirements, all the craziness. That race kind of summed up 2020 for me, didn't it? You know, all the stuff that happened. It's actually quite funny to think about. Yeah. You know, and so much happens that you kind of forget about what really happened for the rest of that race. Alfa Romeo, Antonio Giovinazzi actually looked faster than Kimi Raikkonen the whole weekend. Quali was faster, race he was faster, and it kind of makes you wonder, is 2020, I mean, we've been saying this for the last 4 years now, is this season the last year of Kimi Raikkonen's career? And he somehow manages to find a way to stay on the grid, seems actually still motivated to take part in this sport, and doesn't really want to retire. And I kind of want him to, because Raikkonen has underperformed for quite some time now. And okay, 2019 first half of that season was not bad, to be fair, but the second half, Giovinazzi was starting to beat him. And then 2020 first race, Giovinazzi looks faster than him, and it's like, he's 40 years old now. Some drivers can still perform at 40 years old. Schumacher could perform at that age. Fernando Alonso can perform at that age. Lewis Hamilton is showing that you can be 35 and still perform to a very high level. Kimi Raikkonen seems a driver who peaks very early in his career and drops off very early, which is kind of the same for Sebastian Vettel, I feel, is already starting to be past his best. And I just think it's time for him to retire. And I'd be happy to see Vettel going to Alfa Romeo, to be honest. If Vettel could replace Raikkonen, that'd be great. But yeah. But I mean, Raikkonen had a difficult race. I mean, his wheel fell off, which you can't really blame him for that, because that's more the team's fault for not securing the wheel on properly. But I mean, Alfa Romeo has not really provided a reason as to why that happened. I mean, it could just be the curbs. The curbs this weekend have been very deadly, and they're proper car breakers, these curbs. The Austrian curbs are the worst curbs of the whole season. And you can really hear the rumbling when the drivers go over those curbs. But I guess, you know, you just have to stay on the track. Simple as that. The drivers have to stay on the track. If they don't, they'll be punished. So fair enough. Fair game. But yeah, I think, honestly, P9 is also a right result for Alfa Romeo, because in qualifying they looked shit. In practice they looked shit. They looked really slow. They looked slower than, well, as slow as maybe Williams and Haas. So to get 9th is a result for them. And that could well be the only points they collect the whole season, because they really looked shit that whole weekend. But, you know. Again, as I said, you have to take advantage of every opportunity you get. Antonio Giovinazzi did that. So, speaking of car breakers, his suspension broke. His suspension broke late on in the race. I think he must have run over some curbs and his suspension failed on him. So AlphaTauri, again, tale of two halves for them. Pierre Gasly finished 7th, solid result for him. Pierre Gasly, honestly, since moving to Toro Rosso, which is now AlphaTauri, to be honest with you, he's done a proper job in that car. Seriously, he's actually done quite well. He's consistently outperformed his teammate Kvyat in all areas, and he's actually been quite solid. And people are not seeing this as an opportunity to say, you know what, he deserves that Red Bull, and I disagree. He had 12 races in that car, he underperformed, he does not deserve another chance, period. And it seems like the AlphaTauri suits him, the whole environment, the car, it suits him, so leave him there. As for Kvyat, I guess he was unlucky to have that failure at the end, but, you know, I guess it is what it is, it's racing, it happens. But yeah, I guess Williams, not really much to say about them. To be fair, they actually look quite a lot closer to the field than they did last year. So they've actually made great strides with that car. So, and I really hope that they, you know, do well this season, because I really want Williams to stay on the grid. And, you know, Nicholas Latifi nearly scored points in his first ever race. To be fair, he was the only driver of that race who finished and didn't score points, which kind of tells you he was very lucky to find himself in that situation and was only there because other drivers retired. But yeah, would have been nice to see them score points, but they didn't. But still, really hope that they improve, and I'm actually rooting for them this season. I really want them to do well. I think everyone wants Williams to do well at this point. You know, we can't be losing a historic name like Williams from the field. So Haas, both drivers retired with brake problems, and it's a bit baffling because that Haas had such promise. They started in Formula One so well, built a brand new headquarters, which looked very nice, spent a lot of money, invested a lot of money into the sport. 2016 was great. They scored 28 points that year, which for a brand new team is a great result. 2017, they improved on that, scoring 47. Again, fantastic result for a second-year team. And in only their third year, they nearly scored 100 points in the season. Their model of doing things looked great. You know, they really performed well for a new team. And then since 2019, it's gone kind of downhill. Only scoring 28 points as well last year, which massive downgrade. And this year, both cars retiring brake problems. Now, this is not the first time we've heard about brake problems from Haas. This is not the first time we've heard that, you know. It's been the same story since 2017. Grosjean constantly complaining about brakes, and I just think, what exactly is the problem with these brakes? Why are they so bad? Because honestly, I cannot work it out for myself why Haas's brakes keep being a constant pain for the last 3 years. You think it's been 3 years, they would have fixed the problem by now, but they haven't, and it's kind of baffling. You know, they honestly need to conduct a thorough investigation. I don't know what it is. Is it the car philosophy? Is it the brake company, the brake material? Whatever it is, they need to change it, because it's getting quite ridiculous now. And honestly, Grosjean is not very good, but it's kind of hard to say how bad he is because he keeps getting bad luck. And Magnussen as well got bad luck this race too. So, yeah, the drivers are not the biggest problem with Haas, it's the car. So we need to look at that and try and work out how to fix it, because it does not look at all good. 2020 looks like it's going to be another difficult year for Haas. So yeah, they got to think about their approach. And now onwards to Renault, who they've actually made a very big announcement today, which I'm actually very excited about. It's received a mixed reaction, but I for one am very happy with it. But Renault, now Danny Ricciardo, can this guy get a break, catch any sort of good luck? Because good luck just seems to be escaping from his hands right now. He's been ridiculously unlucky the last 3 years. Apparently this has been his 20th DNF in 70 races, I think. Something like that, I don't know. But it's getting quite ridiculous now. He was looking good for points. He was ahead of his teammate Ocon. And in the first half of the race, his car just dies, engine dies. And it's over for him. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's what you kind of expect with Ricciardo these days. He's never going to get any good luck anymore, is he? All that luck ran out in his Red Bull period, and bad luck is just going to get him in the arse every time now, which is a real shame because he's my favourite driver. But it's kind of difficult to celebrate anything from his career at the moment because it's just going from bad to worse. You know, consistent reliability. Renault, I'm not going to say the reliability shit because let's face it, Mercedes' reliability was shit, Honda's reliability was shit. The only team that actually looked to have decent reliability was Ferrari, funnily enough. Which is actually quite funny. The whole Ferrari engine debacle has again resurfaced because their engines do not look as good since the technical directive was issued and the whole FIA Ferrari agreement, which was kind of not so secret, was arranged at the beginning of this season. And it's resurfaced again. Ferrari probably did cheat last season and haven't really paid the price for it, other than being issued a directive which essentially just says, can you please make your engines legal? They weren't even given a fine. They weren't even given anything. It's like, really, FIA? I know Ferrari's your friend, but really? Like, you fined McLaren $100 million for cheating. And you're just going to say to Ferrari, okay, you can get away with it. I'm not going to do anything to you. Yeah, a bit baffled by that. I expect some sort of appeals. They should appeal. It's quite ridiculous that they've got away with it, essentially. But, you know, it is what it is. But back to Renault. Ocon, first race in 2 years. Fair play to him. Finished 8th. I think he'll be happy with that result because he qualified 14th and it was looking like he wasn't going to get any points this year. But he did. First race back, scores points. I think he'll take that, Ocon. I think he's got quite a lot of hate recently. You know, Ocon is a shit driver because he crashed to Verstappen 2 years ago. People need to get over that, man. Come on, it's been 2 years since Brazil 2018. Verstappen fanboys need to get over that. It was one incident. It was a racing incident. And they need to stop crying and let Ocon have his moment. So I really hope he does well, but I hope Ricciardo beats him because I'm a Ricciardo fan. But yeah, anyway. 7 months of no Formula 1. It's fantastic to have Formula 1 action back. I could not be happier as an F1 fan. I got emotional seeing those titles, that music, those 5 red lights. I can feel it, can breathe it, and I can live it. And it's going to be great. We've got some back-to-back weekends. This week is also race week with the Styrian Grand Prix, and the week after will be the British Grand Prix. Hopefully, we'll all deliver some great races, and I'm very excited. So yeah, until next time, it's been fun. Catch you guys later.